The 16 Days of Activism against gender and sexual and gender-based violence is a period where we raise awareness of sexual and gender-based violence in the world at large, where we also put in focus the various activities the international community and societies conduct to respond to this phenomenon and also to try to prevent it.
The Immigration and Refugee Board of Canada is a tribunal responsible for making well-reasoned decisions on immigration and refugee matters efficiently, fairly, and in accordance with the law. The IRB decides who needs refugee protection among the thousands of claimants who come to Canada annually. Some of these claimants may have well-founded fear of gender-related persecution. A large part of our mandate is about protection, so we recognize the importance of this campaign.
When we're looking at gender-based violence, when we're looking at challenging inequality, such as gender-based discrimination, such as racism, such as sexism, all forms of oppression, that we look at the ways in which it impacts the individual in being able to access different parts of society.
Let us not forget that over 3.7 million refugee youngsters were out of school last year, that only 50% of all the refugee youth is in school, in fact, compared to 90% of the non-refugee young population. So we work on making education accessible to all the refugees, and then the educational programs that they are focusing on this issue of sexual gender-based violence by looking thoroughly at the curricula, by what you transmit to new generations, and also by keeping young people in school.
In my experience working with and writing about girls living in Kakuma refugee camp in northwest Kenya, I've come to know the intense determination and perseverance of so many of these refugee girls. They have had incredibly difficult lives, yet they continue to fight for their education each and every day. Their situations and lives are often forgotten, so their education doesn't hold the same value to a lot of the world. That's why I really want to empower refugee girls. I believe that they, and every other human being, deserves an education.
I actually started being concerned about gender-based violence since I've heard about Malala's story. So she was a girl standing up for girls' education rights. From then on, I discovered more about gender-based violence and gender inequality. At that time, my parents and my school encouraged us to enter or do different events like the UNHCR poetry contest. Lots of these ideas were combined together, and then I created this poem.
The women, they experiencing gender violence, or the children, young kids, man, everybody, gender violence is something we have to change systematic in our society. And equality, I think women equality is a question, should be answered to this question, because until we don't have equal power in our society, violence against women and gender violence is going to be continue.
I will say the impact of gender-based violence is based on the normalization of violence, especially violence against women and trans people.
We are currently developing a guideline for decision makers hearing claims involving sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, called the SOGI guidelines. This guideline will help the LGBT people in presenting their cases in front of the IRB.
The statistics UNHCR is collecting and analyzing about sexual and gender-based violence are quite concerning. In 2014, we recorded more than 18,000 of these incidents, but in 2015, over 26,000. That is an increase of 30%. That does not necessarily mean that sexual and gender-based violence as such has increased. It means it is better reported.
What we need is for people to hear our stories. What we need is for people to validate our experiences. What we need is for people to see us not as broken, but as survivors, individuals that are empowered, individuals that are striving to make change in our society. So listen to us, hear us, and know that we're not going anywhere.